Hello, welcome back. I took a wee hiatus off after playing the ranked season. It didn't go well. Fucking 33rd. Anyway, we're back at it. We're halfway through, which means set 15 tier list. Everyone loves them, everyone watches them for some reason, even though literally everyone makes them, but they get the views. So, no further ado, here we go. So, set 15, we saw the release of Liberator Zenith, or sorry, Solitary, or I don't know what his actual name is, but Ganslot Zenith basically. Ashley Reverse, Immortal Shurikaiser, which didn't get played. Thank you, Bushiroad. Thank you, Bushiroad, for the nerf. Thank you. What else did we get? We got Minerva, that's a big one. We've seen Murakumo, set 2 come out with Hayaki Vogue, as well as, I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, Dawn of the Striped Dragon Reverse. Oh, and Tempest. Oh yeah, we didn't include Tempest. But without further ado, we'll get right into it. Starting with everyone's favourite Royal Paladin, of course, Ashley. So Dual Knight's got a little bit of a mix-up actually with this set. Is they got Ashley Reverse and Miranda as a triple res. Now Miranda, to work properly, needs you to have an entirely Dual Knight deck, which means you can't play Paladin and Ganslot in it anymore. So it's changed a little bit, not too much. It doesn't have access to the Blastblade retire. It now relies on Ashley's retire instead. But still got a good, consistent rearguard engine, as well as Miranda being able to search out PGs now, and it doesn't even tell them, because obviously because it requires your entire deck to be Dual Knights. When it searches the top 3 for a Dual Knight, it knows it's all Dual Knights, so it doesn't reveal it. So if you add a PG, then they don't know. So this is pretty decent. It's definitely good. So I'd definitely put it in tier 2. Moving on to Oracle Think Tank, because we're just keeping it to alphabetical order. I just haven't ordered the images. Tsugami hasn't changed. Tier 2. Magus not here anymore. Moving on from that, Shadow Paladin. Revengers. Revengers just is like, it's still seeing a bit of play, a little bit of play. It's old. Old often means less played in ranked ladder. Still good though. I think it's, bottom of tier 1, top of tier 2 kind of area. Moving on, we've got Gold Paladin, so we've got 2 decks to cover here. So we'll go with the original Gold Paladin deck, Ezel, or in this term, Ezel Scissors. Ezel got a boost with Ezel Scissors. Obviously, it does the exact same thing as Ezel, but it doesn't give you the power, and it's Canvas 2. That is fine though, because for the cost of that, it unlocks your rearguards, which means it's basically an auto win against Link Joker. So on top of that, if you have 5 rearguards, if you have 4 rearguards when you use the effect and you call a 5th, or if you have 5 and call another one on top, you gain a crit, which means it can damage an eye, especially with its now increased range of self damages with the lions. I'd put this at a high tier 2. I would probably put it above Revengers, purely because it can damage an eye Revengers from their break ride, as well as most other decks. Obviously, it doesn't do that all the time, but just the constant crit pressure is pretty big. Because it doesn't really cost you your rearguards, like your rearguard attacks, because it's just big enough anyway. Moving on from Ezel, we'll go to Liberators, the biggest winner from today's set. Tier 1. I'd argue this is the best deck of the format, second only to maybe Nouvelle with Dauntless. I've played this deck a week straight. I have like over 500 wins with Zenith Liberators. It's insane. It's got early pressure with the obviously Wingle, Eskrad, Fallon. If you go first, Eskrad, Fallon is guaranteed 2 damage. You've got Blaster Blade for a retire, along with Mark or Liberator for 3 units to guarantee basically double intercept every turn. You've got the Zenith, which now, within 0, when called from deck, puts itself back and calls out a Blaster Blade from either deck or discard. You just get more Blaster Blades every game. You just get more than 4 Blaster Blades every game, which is insane. It's got Garmor for protection from retirement, to guarantee basically surviving the next couple turns. It's got it's even got an unflipper. It's even got unflip. It's got literally everything. This deck screams tier 1. But I'll stop sucking it off now. Moving on to Celestials, you know, nothing really changed. Still sort of a tier 2 deck. Hopefully you see a boost of it with Legion, but for now, nothing changed. Last deck in United Sanctuary is Genesis with Minerva. It's shown up a lot. It showed up a lot in the last like 2 weeks, and I genuinely do think it's really good. It's got consistent soul charging with, you know, the witches, you know, witch of oranges, witch of grapes, and the starter. So it's only soul charging, non-triggers. It's got Angelica, which helps you soul blast those like what's it called? Helps you soul blast those Hesperises early, or not her. Helps you soul blast the Hesperis for Minerva, so that both attacks can retire something. As well as obviously Witch of Frogs and Witch of Ravens, which give you access to multi-attacking. I think this deck is a solid tier, like high tier 2 contender. I'm surprised it didn't do more in Japan, and hasn't done more here. But I honestly do think this is like a high tier 2. I think it's only it might marginally be above Raging Form. It's really close here because like Raging Form's got the advantage of not needing soul and, you know, stuff like that, and it's got like easy retirement. But Minerva's got the advantage of having like, you know, 5 attacks a turn, high power columns and stuff like that. But we'll move on to Dragon Empire. We'll start off with Kagero. So honorable mention here, Dauntless Drive Dragon Reverse. Has seen play. People have been playing it for retirement for back row, because when Liberators aren't on Garmor and you get to retire their grade 1s, it's quite big. So Dauntless Drive Dragon has cropped up, and it is decent pickup. Even if it's only played at 1 in your like Dauntless Nouvelle decks, it's still really decent. And I would definitely put it tier 1. Pure Dauntless, maybe tier 2. Nouvelle Dauntless, tier 1. But moving on from them, we'll go to Narukami. Obviously, they got Tempest Bolt, and like the sort of kill your own Rayguards kind of playstyle. Doesn't really change it. I'd actually probably... Maybe, does Ezel get... I'm thinking whether Ezel gets to tier 1. We'll leave it like here. I think it's definitely worse. The new stuff doesn't really do it. The grade 1's the best card they got. When you ride a grade 3, Camel Swan, Opponent's Soul. No, I don't think you Camel Swan. I think it's just Opponent's Soul, Dara Rayguard. But it's just not good. It loses hard to Garmor. Moving on from Narukami, we'll go on to Tachikaze, which just kind of stays where it is. I think this is low tier 3, maybe even tier 4. It's somewhere around here. We'll see what ends up in tier 3 and to decide if it's tier 4. But it's definitely like one of the weaker decks, kind of event decks. We all know this from previous videos. Moving on to Murakumo, which just got new support in Hayaki Vogue Reverse. Now the cool thing they did with Hayaki Vogue Reverse is now, when you give the Hayaki Vogues 10k with its Lock 2 effect, you also let them attack from back row. What does this mean? This means that you can call 2 intercepts to the front row, lock them, give the Rayguard 10k, the 2 back row Rayguards 10k, and still swing. You could also mix this up by locking your back row booster for your Vanguard, and 1 front row, meaning you've got 4 attacks that turn. We'll have to wait and see if people play it and how it works out. But it's pretty cool. It's a good improvement for 0. But it's still sort of a top tier 3. Like, you could still play the Mangatsu stuff just for early rushing. Nutama, decent, but I think like the resource, it's a low tier 3 because it turns out the resource management is really hard. Like, it just doesn't have enough soul or enough Cowblast to do everything it wants to do. And in the wrong hands can quickly run out of resources. I've definitely seen it be played really well though. So definitely like a deck that if you have, give it a go. We'll go with Dark States, not Dark States, Dark Zone. I've been playing a bit of Odorous. We'll move on to Dark Zone. Dark Irregulars. Reggie got nerfed. Which I think puts us like instantly into low tier 2, sort of low tier 3 even. I probably would put it into tier 3 now. Reggie was only good because it was non-limit break. It's literally the main reason it was good. It got 15 soul turn 3, wasn't limit break, so it would just keep you at free for absolute, like, keep you below limit break for free. Literally 0 resources. We are mid-tier list, getting a raid from Corrupt. Thank you very much for the raid, man. But yeah, so Reggie. So, it's, yeah. Without its ability to just keep you from lane break for free, it's very bad now. It completely dropped off, and like Ammon's just not relevant. Moving on, we'll go on to Pale Moon. So Pale Moon, honestly, just gets better. I think it's honestly like sort of, it's high. It deserves to be higher than this. I'd say I would put it like here-ish among these decks. We'll put it above Minerva because it doesn't it does require the soul, but not to the same extent. Pale Moon, when in the right hands, is so devastating. It can do so much in so little. It is getting nerfed. It is getting a nerf in the future, but I think it's deserved. Like, so one thing they put out was that its win rate was insanely high. It was just the play rate was really low, and people were like, "Well, I don't see this in ranked. Why is this a problem?" Just because you don't see it in ranked doesn't mean it's not a problem. You know, if Pale Moon is played every, let's say, 5 in 100 games, but it wins 5 in every game it plays, it's still a problem. Imagine, we'll put it into context. Imagine if Immortal Shurikaiser wasn't played a lot, but was still doing the same thing it did. It's still a problem, even though it's not being played a lot. But moving on from them, Spike Brothers. I think Spike Brothers gets demoted to tier 2, like a high tier 2. Its break right turn is quite immense, so probably put it here, because obviously Ezel can pretty easily damage an eye. So I'd probably put it here. We're seeing a lot of these tier 1 decks getting demoted down to tier 2 now, that we used to see. It's just, it relies on the break ride way too much, same as Blouse coming up, but not in the same way. It's just, it's old now, and an old clan event, even more so than old set decks, are gonna just drop off from representation. We'll go on to Stargate now. So, Blouse. I think Blouse is the third tier 1 deck currently. I think it's with the starter, the Unflipping Grey 2, Mond, and Galaxy, I think those 4 cards combined in one deck creates a really consistent win con. So it's piece dependent. Obviously, it needs its non-Blau pieces to do much. But the advantage is that the other tier 1 decks, it doesn't really care about giving Limit Break to. Maybe it cares about Kagero, depending on what their hand is. But you gotta remember, if they go second, they've searched twice, which is potentially 2 PGs in their hand. And 2 PGs is enough to survive a Kagero turn from 3. And obviously Liberators isn't really doing much with their break ride. It's just giving them an extra blast blade to retire. So they can just poke you every turn. Not really caring about when they give you limit break, but you care for sure about when you give them limit break. And I just found that it's just up to RNG. Do you get triggers? Do they have the pieces? But because they're deck finning the Blouse, that means they're drawing into the non-Blouse more often and stuff like that. I just think Blouse is a really good contender, and it just didn't see much play in Japan because of Ashurikai's. Ashurikai's was so much the better deck. But I think Blouse got shafted for it. Moving on to Link Joker. I think Link Joker gets pushed down to tier 2 here. About here-ish. Purely because of the existence of Ezel Scissors. Because Golds was played so much this season, you do not understand. Golds were if I had to guess a percentage, I'd guess 80% of ranked games this season were played with Golds. Be it Liberators or Ezel Scissors. Liberators can still ride Ezel Scissors and still use it, and obviously Ezel is its main grade 3. I just think because of that, we saw less Link Joker, so it's in a low tier 2 for me. And then last one for Stargate, Dimension Police. I think it's probably the best out of these tier 3 decks. Its break ride's really good, and obviously it's got Go Yusha to help that, but it's kind of RNG based. Moving on to Magalancia. Kakai's Reverse. This is better than I originally said, as I originally said in my last tier list. I'd probably put it above Tekkazu Yutama, but not above Murakumo. I think Murakumo's got that sort of. It's just got resource generation, which helps it. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Not much else to say about it. Pacifica and Bermuda. I don't know. Here, don't see it. It's got a decent engine, but it's just no one's playing it. Aquaforce. I think this gets pushed down to tier 3. I think Tetra Drive hasn't done much for it. I think it gets pushed down to tier 3 purely because there's just too many decks in tier 2 right now. It's just not as good as it used to be, and not being played a lot either. and its main win con is just Glory. Like, you know, poke you to 5, ride Glory, hope that wins you the game, which is just not a contender for a good deck. Moving on from Magalancia is Zoo. Melee tier 4, doesn't do shit, don't need to talk about it. Grenature, again, not much changed. Of tier 3, probably still above Murakumo, just because it's like the card draws you better than Murakumo's resource generation. And Neonectar. Now, Neonectar I've been playing a bit on stream. Like, I played a bit on stream when I finished it, and I've been playing it a bit just this week when I've not been grinding. It's pretty cool, actually. It's actually not as bad as I put it up to. I don't know if I put it at tier 2. It's definitely on, like, the brink. It could be tier 2. I think it probably just goes just below Aquaforce, because Aquaforce has just a few better cards. Like, its card quality is just a little bit better than Neonectar's. But I think with the Elvira being a sort of pseudo-Reggie, and obviously the unflipping grade 2 helping sort of support that, obviously it's got deck fitting out the wazoo to help you get those heal triggers to then effectively unflip your damage and do Elvira again. I think, you know, it's a cool little deck, and if you've got it, I'd pick it up. I think Musketeers is the best build of it. You know, anything else, Genes and that, just isn't worth it. But I think I would probably move Noob down to tier 4. It's just kind of lackluster. A good player could bring it up to a tier 3 deck, but I just don't think it's that good. But that was my set 15 tier list. Again, you know, if you think I've put something wrong, I have plenty of comments from people who tell me, like, oh, I think you put Neonectar wrong, or I think you put Granblue wrong. Turns out I was wrong. You know, Granblue's better than what I thought it was, so is Neonectar. You know, just put your comments in the description. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me what you think. I want to know your opinions. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I have recently checked my analytics. Only 30% of you guys are subscribed. Get on it. Get subscribing. Now that I've finished my grind, so I had my 2-week grind where I tried to go for top 28, barely missed out. I now have time to go and edit now, so we're getting more videos out, getting more overdressed content, maybe a bit more variety content as well. But you want to be keeping around for that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.